What do you think? What do you think is like the biggest obstacle right now for Republican Party in expanding the electoral map and just building on and capitalizing on the amazing victory that you were so much a part of in 2024? What's the biggest obstacle you think you're facing?
I think it's a lot simpler than people want it to be.
Yeah.
I think, does this tariff play that we're making right now, how does it play out? Right?
Yeah.
When I say simple, I mean, and I hate this because Democrats and Republicans usually say this, but they're right. What's the economy like when people walk into the voting booth for 26?
Yeah.
I mean, that, of course, there are things that I'm doing with permanent infrastructure. There are little things with messaging to continue to build. But in 26, I mean, if the economy has proven that what Trump is doing now is working, and if the interest rates are where they need to be and inflation's down and people can afford things again, I think it could be a masterful year.
Yeah.
But every single presidential election, when we elect a new president, probably for the last 40 or 50 years, it always swings back.
Yeah.
At least the House.
Swing. Yeah.
I mean, I think, 9/11, I think we talked about, was the only year.
Yeah, 2002. Yeah, and then even I think it was in 1998 with Clinton. This is during the whole impeachment process, and people really pushed back against that for like, we'll elect our president, thank you very much, not you. Yeah, but that's it. I think that's pretty much it. They generally are going to lose, what was it, 20, 30, 40 seats. Yeah. Maybe not quite 40, but yeah, I agree with you. I think bottom line, if those interest rates go down and the cost of living crisis clearly subsides, and there's just a sense of morning in America again, that's going to be very hard to vote against. Let's put in these shrill Democrats have been yelling and screaming against it the whole time.
I'm also, one note is, I'm interested to see J.D. Vance's role. And I think so far, Trump has really empowered him, and I hope that continues. But just in general, it's not necessarily a decision Trump or Vance has, but like, what are the cards you're being dealt?
Right.
And then what is JD's role? Does he pick up a big project? Like, remember, Kamala Harris was our border czar, right?
That's right.
Does he pick up a project and actually have some success or build a brand?
Yeah.
Because that, to me, is going to be a big question. Is he able to avoid a very bloody primary in 28? Because remember, that stuff's going to start January of 26 or of 27.
So
we're not that far
away from it. Yeah, I think that's why they're moving so fast right now, because they know there's just so limited. Why is it important for everybody not to tune out? Why is it so? We're Super Bowl champs. We had this amazing in more ways than one, since we're in Philly. So we gotta go Birds. But why is it that this is no time for respite? This is no time for rest. Why should we be every bit as much as engaged in it now as we were in 2024?
Because the Democrats are not resting.
Yeah.
The reality is they go right back at it.
Yeah.
I don't think people quite understand. I mean, we could take a year off.
Yeah.
Just say, hey, 2026, Shapiro's up for re-election. We get all these midterm congressional races. Let's just hang out for a year, drink some, tequila and relax. The Democrats were back out in January.
Yeah.
And, look, I'll give George Soros a lot of credit. I'm sure that folks will clip this and use it.
He's a vampire. He never sleeps,
His strategy, if you look at the groups that they fund, his strategy is he funds them to the tune of, hundreds of millions, if not $1 billion, Q1 of the off year for 2 years. So what that does is just culturally and strategically, the Democrats know what their budget is.
Right.
And they have, 22 months leading up to the election that they can map it out. They can saturate the different areas they can. Whereas we as Republicans, a lot of times we're spending our money in the last 3 to 4 months because people aren't amped up. They're not engaged. They're not tuned in.
Right.
I will tell you something we have now that we've never had before, and that's Doge.
Yeah.
And so when people are turning on their TV every day, and usually people are like, oh, more politics. It's like they're seeing action.
Yep.
Now, where we lose the air, and that could all come to a crash, is this spending vote that they're going to have at the end of the year. And I do think that the Republicans have a huge risk that if they do not deliver, and it's all this talking for a year,
absolutely,
and then they fund it all at higher levels than ever before, it's going to be tough to get your voters to re-engage. But if they deliver,
Yeah.
in September, whenever October, whenever the next spending bill is, that becomes your talking point for the whole midterm.
Yeah. Promises made, promises
Keep the, cut the taxes, cut the spending, doge the government, drain the swamp.
Yeah.
We've got our country back.
Yeah. Yeah. Protect the border, bring manufacturing back. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree 1,000%. And keep wokeness out, keep men from out of women's sports. It's the whole package. And then keep Democrats, it seems, in that 80-20 doom loop, just where they keep staking their flag in just the most extreme of positions. Going with bureaucrats over and against taxpayers, going with Venezuelan gang members here illegally as over and against their victims and citizens. And so
going with men in women's
sports. Again, these 80-20 issues, as long as we could just keep them just parked there and then do our thing and be faithful with our promises, we should be good to go. It's when they break that faithfulness, then that's when we're in infidels, quite literally. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm curious just I've been watching you from afar and somewhat close. You don't know when. It's kind of creepy, right? But I mean, how do you keep going? I mean, you don't stop. You keep going. You take a little break, maybe a week, 2 weeks, but then you're right back in the swing of things. How do you keep going in all this?
Well, my wife's military, and so we're kind of all over, in terms of moving. So that, in a weird way, helps me with kind of the being transient and figuring it out. I did spend, 8 months this past year, roughly, in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't say that on air for the IRS, but if they want to come after a military spouse, that's fine. We'll argue that one.
There you go. Yeah. 80-20.
But at the end of the day, there is some selfishness to this. There is, a legacy of, hey, how do I take my home state of Pennsylvania and make it a red wall?
Yeah.
And, when we decided to do what we're doing at Citizens Alliance and we said, look, we've got this PHA's program, a lot of people thought we were crazy.
Right. That's right.
And then you get a huge win and now we've got this momentum and it's like, okay, can a blue collar kid go out, raise $3 million each year, hire 120 people by vetting 1,100 applicants and, interviewing 600-700 people? It's a really cool thing to be a part of.
Right. Yeah. It is neat.
So, does the traveling 300 days a year excite me? No. But you meet tons of great activists on the ground.
Yeah.
I meet the coolest of entrepreneurs that want to give back because they want to save the republic.
Right.
And, as a former math teacher, I'm pretty enamored with taking the data and building strategy from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I tell a lot of the operatives I run into, whether they're good guys or bad guys, the coolest thing was being called to my home state to deliver the win.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if you deliver the win for the White House and it's, and you're in Georgia, that's fine too.
Yeah.
But to be here in PA, to knock doors in neighborhoods I grew up in, to knock doors for candidates I know well because we helped get them elected to the state house or the state senate or Scott Perry to Congress. That's what kind of keeps me motivated. It's fun. It's taxing, but it's like, if I wake up in another hotel looking at the ceiling, wondering what town in Pennsylvania am I in, that gets a little rough, but it was just fascinating to see the whole team come together. And like I said, it's like, well, what are you looking forward to now? It's like, I think we can make PA the next Florida, the next Ohio. 2028 is kind of our test to do that. But if we stop doing, it's not just me, but if the people that built this thing stop doing it, you're guaranteeing you're not going to get there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because we know what needs to be done. We've built the systems, we've built the process, we've built the strategy. Just double, triple, and quadruple down to get where we need to be.